just say we. Okay, ready? Okay, so I'm going to start over. The last video we showed you how to just thread it, but we figured out an easier way to do it. So we're going to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and find the very middle of this double piece. And what I did was I took and figured out this was about the length of the scarf that we wanted to make, we decided. And then I've got a little bit of extra on here for tying. And I doubled that. And then we did 13 long strips. And the first thing I'm going to do, now that I have folded it in half, is I'm going to put it around this little piece right here. And I'm going to take the long strip and pull it through my little halfway point. Then, and this is the last one because we've already done the rest of them, then I am going to put my hook, and it's a very flat hook. I'm going to put it through.
Upside down.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to put it right side up. And I'm going to put my hook through the small little piece. And then on this side, it's going to go through the big. And what I mean by small and big is there's little holes and there's long holes. So I put it through this time I put it through the first one. And what I forgot to do is to separate. So I just put 2 threads. I only need one of them this time. And the last one started with the big slot and went to the little slot. So this time I started with the small slot, and then I'm pulling it through both of those. One big slot, one small slot for every one. And then I'm going to pull it through this red beater bar that just helps you push everything back later. And then I'm going to do exactly the same thing with this next one. This time, though, I start with the big bar, and I end with the little bar, or the little, not little bar, little hole. I start with the big hole, I end with a little hole, because it has to kind of be both. We also figured out it's a little easier if you keep some tension on there to keep it from popping back off. And then this is the last string I can do. I actually have an extra hole and an extra long spot on each side, but my little beater bar has 2 less slots than my heddles. Heddles, not decals. So now what we're going to do, I've kind of already started evening these threads out. And I kind of have them in like about 4, I think I'm going to make them 5 fairly even groups like that. And I've got them all kind of smoothed out because I want them to roll up pretty easy. Then I'm going to come around to this back and see this bar right here that we've been tying on. It's attached to this dowel right here that has kind of a sprocket on the end. And I'm going to start rolling. What eventually we'll do is this will have a break, and that will be part of where we keep things tight. But right now, I was trying to just come up so you could get it easier. I'm just going to start rolling. Trying to keep fairly even tension and rolling, and I'm just going to keep rolling with everything kind of even. This is the back side of my loom, and then if you come over here and look at the front side, this is just pulling through everything. And in a minute, this is the side we're going to tie, but I'm pulling it from the back and winding that until I have just enough left on the front. So I'm continuing to wind it. And continuing to wind it. It'll take a minute. What that looks like, it's got a little bit falling off the edge. I don't really want that. Let me get my little hook. I have a little bit I've noticed coming off this edge, so I'm going to pull it a little bit toward the middle. No big deal. There we go. And I'm just going to keep pulling this until I have it. I didn't want it off of this side. Come around here a little bit. It had come off this side a little bit right here, and I didn't want it off of that side because I don't know if that would keep it really even. Okay, now look at this front. I've come to the point where I just have a little bit left. I'm going to just go until I have, what I'm going to end up doing is tying this to this board. So I want just enough to tie. It came, this little loom came to us already warped. And what they did was just directly tied to this little bar. And we may do something like that. But I'm wrapping it as far as I can wrap it and still probably have enough string to tie. So I'm thinking about right here. See how it's just a little longer than the ground? Then what I'm going to do is back here, come back here for a minute. I am just kind of making sure it's stopped. I put this little swinging thing down to stop that. And then kind of our heddle and our little beater bar have kind of kept it from getting tangled, which is a nice plus. Then I'm going to take these in increments of about 4, and I'm going to tie them. The way that when we bought it, they had it done was they had each of these tied to itself at this little beater bar. What we're going to do is do it kind of like I've seen it. So I got a group of 4, and I'm going to take 2, put 2 underneath and 2 on the top. No, not. I'm going to put it all underneath. Excuse me. I'm going to put my group of 4 underneath my little bar. Then I'm going to take I'm going to divide it in half, and I'm going to tie it around the back like this. So I've tied it behind, and you'll see it again in a minute. I've tied it behind, and I'm going to then tie it in front again, like that. Just like that. And I think I'm going to go ahead and make a knot because we're going to end up cutting this anyway. I'm just going to go ahead and make a knot in a second. Then I'm going to get another group of 4 or 5. It doesn't really matter exactly. So this is, I think, a group of 5. And I'm going to take it and do exactly the same thing. I'm going to take it and divide it in roughly half. This time there's 3 and 2. And I'm going to tie one time behind this. So just like I'm tying a shoe, but behind all of the main thing. And then when I have that done, I'm going to tie in the front. Just like that. And then I'm going to tie it again. I don't know if it'll make a difference that that is a little bit longer. I don't think it will. We'll find out. Then I'm going to do, I think it's a good idea because I want to show turning it in just a minute because we're going to tighten it. So I'm going to keep doing this, and I'll try to be fairly fast. I'm being told I may be taking too much time here, so I'll hurry. Tell you what, I'll do it in a group of 6. Make it a little faster. It is faster than tying every single one. And then, again, I'm going to come behind this, and I'm going to put one behind and the other behind, and then just twist it in so it's like the beginning of a knot. And then I'm going to tie it in the front. And this time I am going to make a knot and tie it another time. And that way it won't come loose. Then I think we can take this last bit and probably divide it in half. Let's see. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to take it, and I'm going to take this thing, just come off of its thing. So I'm going to pull these over so they're a little straighter, because I need some more room on this side than what I have. There we go. So that they're kind of straight in front of where they are. Put it again behind. Divide it in half. Come behind here. Make a little bit of a knot. Kind of get it even with the rest of them. There we go. Then I'm going to put a knot in the front again. And another knot. And then I have one more to go. Then we're going to cut these little strings that are hanging and make sure that we're good and tight, because right now this is pretty loose. And I'll show you how we'll do that in just a minute. But my associate here already knows how I'm going to do that. Okay, and I just divided this 2 and 3. It doesn't matter if it's perfectly half. We just need to tie it off and keep it relatively even for all these parts that we're going to start weaving here in just a minute. Yep, you know what I did? I did not tie it behind, which would have been a mistake because it would have made it kind of flippy. So I'm going to take these. It's a little harder when we get over here next to this post. Just because my fingers are maybe a little too big. There we go. Now, that will kind of hold it where I want it. I don't want it in that little groove. There we go. I'm keeping it kind of even tension across all of them. And then we tie another knot. And then really quickly, I'm just going to cut off the extra stuff we've got hanging just because we don't really need it. And this will be, as she gets it weaved, will be where the weave, and that was a little bit messy, but it doesn't really matter because our weave is going to be up here. So we're just going to make sure all of these strings are straight. It's okay if they're not perfect down here, because that's below the weave. Now, what we're going to do is get scissors and just cut some of this messy stuff off just to make it easier to deal with. And then we're going to be careful not to cut that, because when I was taking it off the first work, that's how we ended up cutting that. Then this has the same little gear that we had in the back. And we're going to turn it till it's really nice and tight, and then flip that in, and it is ready and warped. And then the way this works is we're going to put it like this, and it makes a shed. And I'll show you the very first string as soon as I find. Here we go. You may change it in a minute. But the first string that we put in there, we'll put in like this and go about a little more than halfway, because we're going to put the end in. And up, I went the wrong side, didn't I? We're going to do it in front of the red, not behind it, because this is where I start making. So the red stays back with the petals, and I'm going to leave enough to have about half coming back here, and then I'm going to make sure it goes around this first one and let it come in. I don't know, we might keep it so that we can braid it, just braid it in with the end on this very first one, which is different than we're going to do it later. But so we'll kind of knot it like so, and then you turn the heddle, and it's got a little knob for that. And what that does is changes where the shed is. And we go right like this. And then we want to keep it a little bit loose, and my friend here is really better at it than I am. And that gets it started. And in a little bit, when we get some more going, it'll get even tighter. So that is how you warp a little loom. The end.